Hey everyone, Kyle once again. Welcome back to another movie review. And back to reviewing the Batman franchise. So reviewing the classic 1989 Tim Burton film. Now move on to the sequel, which the return of director Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, Batman Returns. And what I have to say about Batman Returns, I think it's a great sequel. Great sequel. Michael Keaton coming back as Batman. Starring, you also got Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, including also that Michael Gough and Pat Hingle comes back as Alfred and Commissioner Gordon. Christopher Walken in the film as Schreck, Max Schreck, and Danny Elfman coming back as doing the score. Which he still does a good job with the score, but I still prefer the score in the first film better, though. And overall, I would say it's a very I would say it's more than a great sequel. I would say it's a excellent sequel, I would say. And like I said on the back here from this person from Newsweek, says funny, wild, imaginative, a visual marvel. Visual marvel, yes. It's a very visually good looking film. Tim Burton once again, how it makes Gotham look still fantastic. Imaginative, I would definitely say that for imaginative. And this is also 2 discs. It has a commentary with director Tim Burton. The Bat, the Cat, and the Penguin. Cast and crew members recall the making of this equally spectacular sequel. I can also say that spectacular sequel as well. Then it's The Shadows of Bat, the cinematic saga of The Dark Knight Part 4, Beyond the Batman documentary gallery, Face to Face music video by Soxy and the Banshees. I honestly never heard of them. The Heroes and the Villains profile galleries. But yeah, I would say it's a spectacular sequel. I wouldn't say it's also a spectacular sequel. The cast, I would say they all did a really great job in the film. Michael Keaton, once again, he's still the best Batman to me, and he still gave an excellent performance as well. Danny DeVito, I'd say that he did a fantastic job as the Penguin. Honestly, I'd say it's one of my favorite roles from Danny DeVito. Michelle Pfeiffer, great as the Catwoman. Even probably people say yes, I will soon say sexy looking as the Catwoman, especially with the suit and everything. And especially the costume of the suit looks like a Catwoman suit. Back with Danny DeVito, the Penguin, great looking makeup effects, especially was done by Stan Winston. Really enough, Stan Winston helped do the makeup effects for the Penguin, and the film was a hit though, but it was a little bit less than what the first film made. Like the first film made about 411. This made around 266 million, and domestically made about 162 million in the U.S. It doubled its budget domestically with its budget of 80 million. So the budget was used well, and Tim Burton, like I said, his visual look of Gotham, and really enough, I would say the sequel is even much more darker than the first film. Now that's part of where some of the criticism came in, even though that was well received though. But the main criticism that it was probably because it was a little bit too darker. But I think it's still good look. It's still good look, and I do appreciate the. I do like how the darkness tone of it. I do like, but I'm not really the Christians being a little bit too darker. This is director Tim Burton. He's always directing his films more in a dark tone fashion. So I appreciate the dark tone, but some people didn't like it, and some of the criticism had that not only that, this is dumb. That looking up that some of the parents did not like it as well, because McDonald's, they were I guess they were still, I guess, for the Happy Meals for the promoting the film. I guess parents didn't like it because it was too dark, and some of the violence, and of course it's the sexual references that they put in, especially with stuff with Catwoman and stuff, and Danny DeVito, one of the scenes, but I'm like, well, first of all, it's not a PG rated Batman film like the first film. They're both PG-13. It's gonna have some violence in it, and it's a dark comic book film, and just if you think it's a bit too dark for your children to watch, don't have them watch it, because there is some violence and there is some bit of blood in it, and apparently the whole thing with parents. But apparently, I guess somehow they won because the McDonald's, they took down all their Happy Meal promoting for the film, and I mean, it's like, what's really enough. The parents do the same thing for another sequel. Well, now that sequel was dark though, but where is it? Really enough, the parents did the same, did like a same reaction to the I'm just looking for the DVD. Oh, there it is. For the sequel to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Secret of the Ooze. I mean, parents, they didn't like the turtles use their weapons from the first movie. So in the sequel, I guess they barely, if not, they did not use their weapons at all, because parents didn't saying, oh, look at this, they're using violence, using weapons, and this and that. So apparently, I guess parents won on that, so that's when the sequel, I don't recall, they haven't used their weapons once. So I guess parents win again, so I guess all the things with this, and this is dumb. It's like it's a dark comic book film, and if things could be a bit too violent for your kids, don't have them watch it then. That way, parents don't have a big fuss about it or a hissy fit about it. But despite all that, though, it was well received though, besides the darkness tone. It does have an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has a 7.0 on IMDb. And it said it performed well at the box office. Not much as the first film, though, but still it did good. And I also like the fact that in the film that it was snowing, and it also took place around Christmas time as well. I thought it was a nice setting for that. And it opens up with the Cobblepots, the parents of Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, when he was being born. And, the parents, they can't stand the child. They have a scene where it's Christmas, and you have a locked in a box, and it takes a cat, and you can't tell that young penguin is, eating the cat. And actually really enough, is also that the people who played, the parents of the penguin is actually, the father is actually played by Paul Reubens. If everyone knows the name, he's Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, Pee Wee Herman himself is playing the Penguin's father. And back then I did not notice that, and not until now that I watched the film, nowadays, I was like, oh man, that's Pee Wee Herman himself. He's playing the Penguin's father. I was like, holy crap, I did not notice that. I thought that was kind of funny, just also seeing Pee Wee Herman. Well, because, Tim Burton, he directed the film Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventures. That's why, and just, I think also the one who plays the mother of Penguin, I think she was also in the film, the Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure film as well, so that's why, But, yeah, Pee Wee Herman saw Paul Reubens as Penguin's father. So this instance, they can't stand the child. They take it to somewhere over the bridge, and they dump it in the where it's in the casket, and it floats into the sewers. And as the credits are going, it's still floating, and we see a bunch of penguins. And then the penguins, and it's 33 years later, and this where he's high ever since, like underneath this abandoned zoo, and he has this circus gang, and which I like this circus gang here. I think I like those interesting kind of type of gang to put. Like Jack Nicholson and his Joker goons. You have a penguin. He has a gang from this circus. And you see it when they start attacking the people in the streets, and where one guy is spitting fire, burning place, and you have this one guy, with the monkey, and when they, playing that music box, but instead it has like a machine gun in it, and you got some guys on stilts, and guys on motorcycles wearing these big skulls heads, and you have this poodle lady with this poodle. And then, of course, the Batcell comes up, and you see Michael Keaton. He sees the bat signal, and he suits up, and he gets in that Batmobile. And he uses some of the gadgets on the Batmobile, knocks the guys off the stilts, off the motorcycles. Or one instance where the guy is spitting fire, like he hits one button on the Batmobile, it turns the Batmobile all the way around, and it shoots the fire from the back of the vehicle and sets that guy on fire. And he gets him and Batman he gets a lot more. Not the much that he got. I like the fights in the first film, but he got more fights. You know what I'm saying? More fights and in this film because he's battling a whole circus gang, and the fights were well done. Batman, real enough, he's a badass basically. Michael Keaton, he is still a badass Batman still, and one instance where because we introduced with Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken, and he has this industry where he wants to make a power plant where he wants to have be this. He's setting this whole thing up for his son, but he has some criminal things in mind well behind this power plant, and it has things that with the toxic waste stuff like that, but his main thing he wants to go through this set this whole big power plant, but there's some criminal things that's going for it though, but with his assistant Selina Kyle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, when she's in the streets and she gets attacked by one of the circus gang members that has a taser, and Batman's right there and says, come on. And he shoots the thing that goes past and hits the wall. It's like, you missed. And he yanks the cord and takes a chunk of the wall of the building, knocks that guy out. And then Selina is like, oh, thank you, and she takes that taser, which she's going to use later. And then one thing leads to another, and Max Schreck, that he runs away from the circus gang, and then he gets taken to the Penguin's lair, and we're introduced to the Penguin, played by Danny DeVito, which I think he did a great job, fantastic job as the Penguin, and love the look of the Penguin, costume wise, makeup effects wise. Good looking Penguin for Danny DeVito, and he looks the part of it. He does. He looks the part well, and of course there has been other several castings by who wanted to play as the Penguin, and actually really now just looking up on some trivia here that Danny DeVito was advised by Jack Nicholson, aware of his own financial success from the first Batman film, to take the role of Penguin. So basically, Jack Nicholson, that Danny DeVito was told he was told him to take on the role as Penguin, basically. So that was nice. And even really have the Burgess Meredith, who played the original Penguin from the Batman 60s Adam West show, that he was going to play the Penguin's father from the opening, the Paul Reubens is playing. But he was going to play his father, but his illness prevented him from doing it. So instead, that Paul Reubens got to play the father. Yeah, Burgess Meredith, who played Mickey from the Rocky films, but he played the Penguin in the '60s show. And so Penguin knows about Schreck. And I thought there was I like this scene where he has, of course, Penguin, him and his umbrellas. He has this one umbrella that has like a swirly thing, the things for hypnosis. So he's like moving the umbrella, and it's like, and Christopher Walken's like, "Are you trying to hypnotize me? It's not working." And he's like, "No, it's to give you a splitting headache." Well, that's not working either. And then he has he starts shooting, but it's like, and it's filled with blanks. So yeah, him and his other umbrellas, like one is like a machine gun, one has a knife, and he knows about and about what Max is what he's doing, and he wants, but it's easy for him to keep that silent. He wants to be up in the world. He wants to find out who he is, and he wants to be known by the people. So he'll make something. He makes something work for him. Sorry. And then back with Michelle Pfeiffer, she she finds out about this one thing that she was not supposed to know about it. So Christopher Walken, he finds about, he talks with Selina, and it's like, of course that he was gonna kill her, but he's like, and she's like, "What, are you gonna kill me?" And then Christopher Walken, he's like, smiles like, "I'm just kidding." Yeah. And when she thinks that she was not going to think he was joking, but all of a sudden he turns around and just goes and pushes her out the window, pushes her out the window, lands, and all the cats come in. And I'll tell you, Michelle Pfeiffer, I think she is still the best Catwoman. She's still the best Catwoman. Of course, the disastrous Catwoman film with Halle Berry, she's nowhere near close to what Michelle Pfeiffer is. And same thing with Anne Hathaway, which to me, Dark Knight Rises. There was no need for her to be in the movie. She didn't need to be in the movie in the first place. And Anne Hathaway, she's not a good Catwoman at all. She's just not. What she does in Dark Knight Rises, that I'll say that for another time if I want to review the Nolan films, which I don't really want to though. But one day I'll review the Nolan films. That's for a different time. That's for a separate Batman films. For now, I'm just reviewing this franchise, this Batman franchise. But Anne Hathaway, she sucks too as Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer, she is still the best looking Catwoman. Because when she gets back, and she goes back to her place, and then that she has now like in her mind she's gone psychotic, and like how she starts tearing up her place, and she makes the Catwoman suit, and you see as she's making it, she looks at that psychotic look on her face that she's now she's gone, and she makes the costume, and then Bruce Wayne talking with Max Schreck about closing the deal. He doesn't want to do it with the power plant, but Christopher Walken says he still needs to. Then Michelle Pfeiffer comes in, and Christopher Walken's surprised seeing that she's still alive, but so she pretends like, "Oh, back from your vacation, we had that ski accident." And then one thing leads to another with like one of the during a press outside, a clown steals the mayor's baby, goes down the sewer. Of course, it's part of the plan to make the Penguin think he saved the baby. So he gets the baby, and he rises up from the sewer, and people are going, "Oh, it's the Penguin Man," and he's like doing this because he's never been up there, and pictures and stuff like that. And he tells that he wants to know who he is, and then him working with Max Schreck, he wants make something that he wants to be mayor, and with Penguin being mayor, he and Schreck can basically do anything he wants. So, sorry. And then one thing to another scene where Penguin, he finds out who his parents is, and he goes to the graveyard and sees them, and I thought it was a nice moment, even for a villain. His parents are dead, so he goes to the grave and puts a flower in each of their other graves, and he tells the press, who his real name is, Oswald Cobblepot. A bird is a penguin is a bird that can't fly. I am a man, and I have a name, Oswald Cobblepot. Dan DeVito, he just gave a great performance as the Penguin. And he says, that he forgives his parents because, for him being different, he says it's human nature to fear the unusual. And I was the number one son, but I was treated like I was number two. And they did what they had to do. But I forgive them. So I thought it was even for the villain, it's a nice little moment, where we finds visits his parents' grave. So I thought that was a nice little, maybe it makes you give a little sympathetic to the character though. But even though he's a bad guy, but there was that little sympathetic moment for him for him finding out who he really is, and his parents. Even one point where he Max gives Penguin a surprise by luring him down with fish, and there's one point where he actually bites a guy's nose, and there's a little bit of blood, and of course there was another instance with blood as well. So there you do get a little bit of blood in this movie, so for a dark Tim Burton film, so that was nicely handled. And then with Selina Kyle as Catwoman, like with more blood, there's this, he scratches this mugger's face up, who was trying to rob this woman, scratches his face up, like very bloody, and she blows up this store from Shrek. Batman tries to fire, but he doesn't want to hit her because she's a woman, and she even plays on that. Like, oh, you hit me, I'm a woman, and he's like, I'm sorry, and then she goes and hits right back at him. And now, of course, with handling with the Penguin and Catwoman against Batman, it was handled very well. And the fights, I understood what was going on. Like in the first movie, the fights in both these films were handled very well. And one thing with the Catwoman talking with the Penguin, and how they really want to work together against the Batman. And while that's going on, you have Selina Kyle, who is the moment where she's talking with Bruce Wayne back at his mansion, and Bruce Wayne mentions about Vicky Vale from Kate Basinger from the first movie. It was nice that he mentioned her, but that even though he told her everything, even though Alfred led her to the Batcave. I don't know who I was. Well, she didn't tell it to Catwoman though, but it was nice that they mentioned her, but they broke off with her, and where they kiss, and the whole thing with Selina Kyle, she wants to try to be good though, but she can't because of her. Guess you can say her other the other ego, Catwoman. But she tries. So she wants to be good though, but she can't. and the chemistry with that between him and Bruce Wayne, with her and Bruce Wayne, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really handled better, better than the chemistry between Christian Bale and Anne Hathaway, which there was none, which I don't buy either. And one other instance where together they try to frame Batman, where they kidnap this girl who's like supposed to like to light the big Christmas tree, and they put her on the roof of a building, and the Penguin uses bats, uses bats all on the girl, and she falls to her death, and they say, "Oh, Batwoman, he put the people saying Batman pushed the girl off the building." So they're framing him, saying that he killed the girl, and then they all unleash Penguin unleashes a whole bunch of bats against all the people, making it seem like it's Batman who's attacking the people. And when he tries to get into his Batmobile, Danny DeVito they set up a device underneath his car, and where the Penguin has control of the Batmobile, and he's controlling the Batmobile and try to drive over these people. And I thought that how even though with Joker, Jack Nicholson, his plan how to all his plans, I thought was pretty good though, but the ideas and the plans for done by the Penguin and stuff, I thought was pretty more messed up than the Joker's, because like he's trying to frame Batman and think he killed this girl, and then he has control of his Batmobile and tries to run people over. And then another instance which I'll get to towards the end, but he manages to regain control of the Batmobile, and Penguin gets frustrated. Ah! And then one thing leads to another is that they managed Bruce and Alfred. They managed to use this recording that the Penguin said when he was controlling the Batmobile. They used this thing because how he plans to kill whoever wants a mayor and this and that, and now everybody is now as the Penguin was making his speech, he used the recording as processed over the microphones, and everyone's oh booing and throwing stuff at the Penguin, and actually really enough that Dan DeVito said he refuses for a stand-in, as he's getting the stuff thrown at him. So I think actually that he wanted to throw that stuff at him himself. So then he jumps over the bridge back into the sewers, and then he comes up with another devious plan. He plans to kill the firstborn sons of Gotham, because he was a firstborn son. So he tries to plan to kill all the firstborn sons of Gotham. I was like, his plans have been much more I would say more evil or more devious than the Joker's plans have been. Well, the Joker's plans were good. Like, he tries to kill people with the gas and make them die with a happy smile on their faces, which I thought that was a creepy thing, especially when that happened to that woman in the newsroom in that first movie. But the Penguin's plans in this movie, I thought was much more sinister and more messed up, really enough. Especially when he plans to kill the firstborn sons of Gotham, and tries to frame Batman and tries to run people over with his own Batmobile. Penguin has much more messed up and more evil, devious plans, And back with the Catwoman, we get to another fight, and then one later short, she gets pushed off and she lands in a box of what she says, saved by kitty litter. And they mentioned about the mistletoe because later, when Max Shreck's having this masquerade ball, and Selina and Bruce, they're dancing together, and they see the mistletoe, and Bruce mentions the same thing, and now they know who each other they know who they are to each other, and Michelle Pfeiffer, she's saying, "This is the point where we start fighting each other?" But Penguin shows up, and he wants Max's son, but Max lets him take him instead. And Now, okay, now I'm sure some people now without the part of since um Penguin's first plan failed. His second plan is that he wants to he uses his penguin companions, and they have rockets on them. Go to this part of the town and shoots the rockets. And I'm sure now some people criticize the dark tone of the film. I'm sure some people criticize about this the silliness of the penguins with the rockets like right here. Now that part I do understand. I do understand that part with the penguins where they have the rockets on each other. I do admit that is a silly idea though. But the rest of the movie is still well done, well filmed. The well visually good looking, the acting, action scenes, everything I would say I have no problems with. I would say I will agree with some people who go complain about this one part with the penguins and the rockets. I will give you that. I will give you that though. That is like basically the one silliness of the with the penguins though. But that's it. But I'm not totally mad at the idea though. I was like, okay, that's silly though, but move on. So I'm not overall mad at that. I'm just gonna brush that off. If I can say it correctly. Yeah. But then that part does not work, and Penguin gets more aggravated, and as the circus they abandon him, he tries to get away in his mobile duckmobile, but that gets messed up, and Penguin tries to fight him with the umbrella with the knife, and Batman has this the control, and the penguins are around with rockets, and he says, "My babies, ah ah." But then Batman unleashes a whole bunch of bats like he did for the people, so he gets back at him for that. He unleashes a whole bunch of bats at the penguin. He falls all the way through a window and all the way down back into the lair in the water. Everything starts exploding. He jumps in as well, and then Selina comes in. You know, he wants to kill Max, and but then Batman tells Selina, we're the same, and then he takes off his mask, and says, you don't have to do this as well, and so, and Max is like, Selina, you're fired, and Bruce, what are you doing dressed as Batman? And it's like, he is Batman, you moron. Not anymore. And Max shoots him, and then he starts shooting Selina, and it's like, oh, 2, 3, 4 lives, and I got 2 left. And but her talking with Bruce is like, oh Bruce, I would have loved to live with you in your castle, but I just kind of live with myself. Yeah, she wants to she wants to be good though, but at the same time she can't because how her mind is now twisted up. And now she goes and takes that taser, and she takes that taser that she took, and she and Christopher Walken are kissed with a taser like this, and they both get electrocuted, and Bruce he takes through the rubble, but she's gone, but Max is like, he's all fried like this. And then Penguin, he shows up. He's like all this. Sometimes you see him, he's like dripping out this green goop out of his mouth, and he's like, oh shit, I picked the cute one. Oh, the hate's getting to me. I'll murder you momentarily, but first, I need a cold drink of ice water. And then he falls down dead. And then his fellow penguin companions, they come around. The master is dead. They slowly push him into the water as he sinks at the bottom. And then it ends with Bruce Wayne riding with his butler Alfred, and where he thinks she sees Catwoman's shadow, and he runs into that alley, but he finds a black cat, goes back in the car and says, Alfred, Merry Christmas, Bruce. Merry Christmas, Alfred. And then the bat in the shows the bat signals up and Catwoman is there alive, which I did like. And then after that they wanted to with Tim Burton. They wanted to do a spin-off of Catwoman, but that didn't have that failed as well. And it's the same thing with Tim Burton wanted to direct the third Batman film with Harvey Dent coming back with Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent as Two-Face, but sadly that didn't happen as well. I would like to see the third Tim Burton Batman. I want to see Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. And I would like to see Robin Williams if it would look like if he would have played the Riddler. Because there was a point he was asked to play the Riddler. But I would like to see that as well. But we got Batman Forever with Val Kilmer as Batman, Nicole Kidman, Chris O'Donnell as Robin, Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and Jim Carrey as the Riddler. But it ends on a good score by Danny Elfman. I still think it's a great score, but his score in the first film I still prefer is better though, because that was just an amazing score. But the score in this film by Danny Elfman, it was still a great score. The first film the first score they did for the first one was still better, but this one, it's not a bad score at all. I still think it's a great score by Danny Elfman. Great. Tim Burton, once again, great job directing this great sequel. Division. It still looks like it's a comic book DC film. The way how Gotham looks. I like and I actually like the idea how it took place around Christmas and snowing. Michelle Pfeiffer, I think she's the perfect Catwoman. The costume on her, I will say is pretty sexy. I would say. The costume does look like a Catwoman, unlike the shitty Halle Berry film, or doesn't look like a Catwoman costume with Anne Hathaway in Dark Knight Rises. This is a Catwoman right here. That's a Catwoman. Michael Keaton, once again, great job as Batman. Fantastic. I just wish that he was still. Well, at the point that they wish that would have continued though, but Tim Burton, this is that. There's a part where he says that Michael Keaton was alleged to have earned $11 million for coming back as Batman. Tim Burton said that he personally believed that Keaton deserved it, in which he did deserve it, because he's still the best. He was still the best Batman. He deserved to come back, and I wish he would have came back as well, but of course, Joel Schumacher, since he was going to direct it, and Michael Keaton didn't like the directing by Joel Schumacher, so that's why he didn't come back as Batman. And I don't blame him. I don't blame Michael Keaton for not coming back because Joel Schumacher didn't like the way he was directing it. But the film was still dark, and I liked it was much more darker than the first film. But the whole thing with the parents, the whole hissy fit, with McDonald's, and it was too violent for the kids and too dark and too sexually for them. It's like, okay, it's a dark comic book film. It's PG-13, and if you think it's not good for them to see, don't have them watch it then. Or better, just don't go to McDonald's and buy the Happy Meals if you don't like it. But I don't think this film didn't deserve that kind of that kind of a reaction. I like the dark tone of the film. I liked it was much more darker in the first film. With other casting, Pat Hingle and Michael Gough as Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, they still did fine as well. Christopher Walken as Max Schreck, I thought he did a great job as well. Danny DeVito, great as performance as the Penguin. It's definitely one of my favorite performances by Danny DeVito, and I think he played a great Penguin. And just really enough, my dad. He is not a fan of this character itself. It's nothing wrong. Danny DeVito didn't do anything wrong, but my dad he can't stand the character itself, the Penguin. He can't stand he can't stand the Penguin character. He just can't. I mean, he likes he. I mean, he would. I don't think he wouldn't watch this movie because he can't stand the Penguin. But he does like Michael Keaton. He still think that Michael Keaton is still the best Batman. He still does. But one of the characters that my dad never did like is that he could not. He never liked the Penguin. He never did. Not Danny DeVito, just the character itself. But to me, Danny DeVito, he did a great job as the Penguin. He gave a great performance. I like the look of him as the Penguin. He looked the part. Costume, makeup effects wise, great performance as a Penguin. The performances, the chemistry, between Bruce and Selina. The fight scenes were excellent, well filmed. Batman getting badass with each scene. Like there's one part where he tries to fight with this big strong man, but he has this bomb. It pushes the guy, and that guy explodes. Or the other scenes that I explained, and it's just fun entertainment. I enjoy this. I do enjoy the sequel. It's a great sequel, and I would say it's a worthy sequel to the franchise. It's definitely better. It's definitely better than The Dark Knight, except for Heath Ledger or any of Nolan's Batman films. To be honest. Like I said, Heath Ledger, he was the only best part of that whole trilogy. I'll still take Batman Returns over any of those films. Because here's the thing between Tim Burton's films and Nolan's films. This looks like it's a fantasy. What was it? No, it's a comic book film. Well, comic book is fantasy, so same thing. Science fiction. Fantasy, however you want to call it. It's a DC comic book film. It looks like it's a DC comic book film. But Nolan's films, it looks like Nolan's films doesn't look like it's complete it's not fantasy at all. There's no fancy comic book look to it. It doesn't. It's trying to be very serious. It's probably trying to be a very serious comic book film, but those films, they get all the praise. They get much more higher ratings than on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb than both the first film and the second film. All three of those films, they get much more higher ratings on both IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. They get all those praises. Well, the first film and the second film, they got praise. They got higher ratings though, but it's lower compared to Nolan's films. I just don't. I just won't understand it. I know people like that. I know there's lots of people that like Nolan's trilogy, but I'm not. I'll just sit down and have fun and have entertainment and enjoyment by watching this film and this film back to back. These are the best Batman films. The best Batman films. Especially when it's starring an A-list actor who's still the best Batman and a great director by Tim Burton. And you get A-list actors playing worthy villains. Great villains. Anything else I think that sure if anything more on the trivia where yeah, this is the only sequel to one of his own films that Tim Burton directed himself. Danny DeVito spent 2 hours a day in makeup. He was forbidden to describe the Penguin's makeup to anyone, including his family. Danny Yeah, it says here, neither Tim Burton nor Michael Keaton has signed up in advance for a sequel. Burton came on board only after the script met all his demands. He hadn't been entirely happy with the first Batman screenplay, while Keaton only agreed to do the second film after a serious hike in salary and Burton's assurance that it will be most likely a standalone movie rather than a sequel. I can do that aside though, but it's still standalone sequel, but it's still a sequel and it's a great sequel. So, and yeah, here's the thing: in the U.S., McDonald's were forced to cancel a Happy Meals promotion with the film after parents protested about its violent and sexual nature being inappropriate for young children. But the Coca-Cola company continued its promotional run. Yeah, too scary. Yeah, do you think what the Penguin does in this film or Catwoman? Yeah, you think it's supposed to be friendly with children? If you watch this film, you think this is not kid friendly. What the Penguin does in this film is pretty messed up and devious. What he does, he tries to take Batman's own Batmobile and tries to run people over and frame Batman, yet tries to kill the firstborn sons of Gotham. I mean, that's nothing kid friendly with this, and it's supposed to be violent. It's supposed to be for young adults and adults. Not for the children to see all this though. Probably the friendliest thing kids would like to see is the Penguins themselves. But the children that young don't have them watch it because of all it's supposed to be violent. It's a dark DC comic book film. What do you think this film was kid friendly? What the Joker does in this movie? Come on, give me a break. But yeah. And there was numerous castings for Catwoman, including Penguin. Billy D. Williams was to play Harvey Dent. An early draft of Batman Returns included the role. The character was later renamed Max Schreck, and all of Dent's lines were given to him, and all of Two-Face's elements were removed. I would love to see a third Batman film with Tim Burton coming back to direct. Get Billy D. Williams in there to play Two-Face. I would love to see that. Otherwise, it would not be continuity error with have Tommy Lee Jones playing as Harvey Dent. But anyway, I'm gonna end it right here. Batman Returns, great sequel. The only nitpick I would have, which I would agree with some people, that they do have the same nitpick they have, is with the Penguins and the Rockets, but that's a tiny nitpick. I'm not gonna be bothered by it though. Just brush it off. But other than that, though, Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken, great performances, the costumes, and I'll forget to say, the Batman costume is still the best looking costume for a Batman film. It still is. I think I forgot to mention that in the first review of the first film. Tim Burton, definitely a definite thumbs up, 2 thumbs up for directing a fantastic sequel. Everything I would say pretty much is with the characters, the actors, the actions, atmosphere, dark tone of how Gotham looks, visually, Batman being a badass and the well edited fight scenes, great score by Danny Elfman. But the first one I would still prefer of the score though. But still, the score that Danny Elfman did was still good. Danny DeVito was definitely one of my favorite performances. He did a great job as the Penguin. And like I said, my dad, he's just not a fan of he can't stand the character itself of the Penguin. Danny DeVito wasn't the problem, it's just the character itself that my dad couldn't stand. He hates the character of the Penguin. But that's how my dad is. But he still agrees that Michael Keaton is still the best Batman. I say the same thing as well. Michael Keaton, he is still the best Batman. So, Batman Returns. I love this sequel. It's a great sequel. it's definitely worth the look. It's definitely worth a look. I highly recommend it. But anyway, that's my review for Batman Returns. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned on the next movie review, and hopefully that's going to be on the next one. Batman Forever. Later.